Very well about that, I'm sure. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming for this particular talk on suppliers trust but verify. I was just saying to somebody, probably wasn't the room when I said it, this is going to be massively informal and involve me bouncing around and trying to stay in the box, which is going to be a challenge. Any questions, ask at the point you think about them. Don't worry about Q&A. If you've got any questions, essentially this is just a little bit of a meander through some of the things that we've seen as a business and me as an individual throughout a few years of doing supply chain management, essentially. So this is us going out to other people's suppliers and doing a bit of audit work, essentially, in terms of whether they stack up against certain standards, be it ISO or Cyber Essentials or a combination of, or even companies' own kind of rule book, especially in the FCA world, people got their own stats they like to follow. So anybody with an FCA organisation here? FCA certified organisation? A regulated organisation? Financial Conduct Authority?
Yeah, Jason, sadly.
Alright, so some of the stuff we found there and some of the stuff we found a bit more recently, which requires a little bit of interpretation, but I'll talk through that. So, who's got suppliers? Anybody got suppliers in their organisation? So, a bit dodge, hey, yeah, just like, right, invite you out on Saturday, that sort of stuff. Cool. So essentially this is just us talking about risk, essentially. So this is a risk macro day-to-day jobs, yeah. This is essentially what we're talking about, supply chain risk. So a little bit of just preamble here. So everybody familiar with the Allianz Risk Barometer? It comes out once a year. If you're not, it's worth the read. It's a bit like reading a lot of kind of industry publications. It gives you a bit of a hint about where to focus your efforts. This is a bit more business level, the Allianz work. So apart from 2020, their number one global risk to business has been cybersecurity for as long as I've been reading this report. Essentially, they're going, cybercrime, cyber incidents, biggest threat to business the world over. Their number two risk this year, which is the same as last year and previous years, is business interruption, including supply chain interruption. So, anybody use CrowdStrike in the room? All right. So that's kind of supply chain. That's caused massive issues. Could have caused suppliers issues as well. Actually, for some relatively obvious kind of updates, caused some challenges. But actually, they see this as a major issue. And I look at this and go, well, that's fine, but don't suppliers have cyber incidents as well? Which makes them really, really risky. So maybe they should be number one on this list, potentially, not number two. Something to think about. Not only that, actually, from a supply chain point of view, you know what's going on in your suppliers right now, in real time? Nobody does. Nobody does. You kind of have to take that with a little bit of reasonable trust in terms of that they're doing the right things and behaving the way that you would expect them to. It's always a point in time, right? So you do it on a Tuesday, you might not go back for a year or 5 years, or never, depending on the size and shape of supply and what the level of risk is potentially, and what there is to do. So some considerations there. So essentially what we're talking about, we're just going to drill in a little bit and talk about some of the things we found in other people's supply chains. No names, no years, but some of them are quite interesting. Some of them are actually really basic as well. So, suppliers are basically dodgy, right? That's my kind of viewpoint on suppliers. He says being a supplier. So watch that, but essentially you need to watch what your suppliers do because you don't control them, right? They've got their own business agendas, they're trying to make money, that's their primary focus, especially in SME space. But actually, are they doing the right things with access to your data, your systems? It's kind of the question. Like, how do you manage that? So a couple of I'll just put these on board, actually. I'll put these on as examples of things that I might call slightly dodgy, so don't just cast your mind back. So things got breached by maybe a nation state a few years back, and that got deployed to lots of organisations. So they put a backdoor into a monitoring tool. Kaseya, same thing, that distributed ransomware. So if you're an MSP, we use Kaseya to manage all of your customers' endpoints. That was about a couple of months. She also deployed ransomware one day, which is a bad idea. Kaspersky, now interestingly, reading the NCSC guidance here, is fine as long as you're not in public sector. Right, well, what's the difference between public sector and corporate world? Who pays the bills, essentially? Is it taxpayer money or private money? But actually, why is it less dodgy if you're in the private sector? Do you use Kaspersky in organisations? No. You do? And what sort of organisations do you work into, sir? Private sector, yeah. Is it dodgy or not? No. But if you're in government, you might use it.
It is, that's because the coach wants to do more things instead.
Yeah, but that's that. So that was a bit of a question mark.
Is that not part of the supposed risk appetite of the fact that they are Russian-based and we've got
Switzerland, Austria now, aren't they, or something like that? I think
they've got origins, and
so
so there's this idea that they're going to be terrible and they're going to deploy a backdoor into every government endpoint, which, I mean, I'd be here for the popcorn.
Which is what happened here.
Exactly.
This is what happened with SolarWinds, right? It's a big US company, actually got breached. They deployed backdoors to loads of stuff. Ages and ages and ages. Kaseya, there's just been some hackers might have some cash, who knows, right? Don't know about that. But it's really interesting. So you could put TikTok in the same space here, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
it was allegedly filmed by Dutch intelligence searching for keywords of sensitive documents.
Allegedly. But TikTok, all the data is actually hosted in China.
Is it ByteDance?
ByteDance, yeah. Interesting. Is that a security risk? Is it a data privacy risk? Yeah, probably. Does the person who runs TikTok in China actually let his kids use it? No, he lives in Hong Kong or Singapore or something. So read into that what you might, I would suggest. But anyway, basically, you've got to be really careful with suppliers because something might change. They might be doing something nefarious under the hood. What do the T's and C's look like? We read the T's and C's, the free version of Dropbox. That's quite interesting. Google. So you ever see the video of somebody with the audio pings in Google Chrome? So sent a ping off every time some data went back to Google. It sounded like a Spectrum loading tape from the 80s or the 90s. It's basically all your data to Google. What's that sort of stuff? So that's a little bit outside of what we're talking about here. But case in point, you need to be really, really careful with what we're doing with suppliers, especially those that profit service might be really, really cost effective. It's how much time and effort they're spending on their own security, which might have an impact on yours as an organisation. So that's essentially where we're going. So good luck managing suppliers. So anybody in supply chain assurance? Is that a day job for anybody? Oh, lucky. Good fun. How effective is supply chain assurance?
Terrible.
Building it at the moment.
Building it, yeah. Hey, it's a bit of a doozy. So actually, how do you categorise your suppliers? Who's got access to what? Do you break that down based on size and impact? If there is an incident, do you do that with some tooling? One of our customers at the moment sends us a report every week about what they think our SIN report is. We go, look at that thing there. I'm going, go away, because actually that's just a website. I don't care that it's a bit. That's completely fine because it's a marketing website. I don't care. Is there anything to do with your service? No. Just think over there, but they perceive it as it is, right? But there's some challenges around that sort of stuff in terms of what. You've got an ISO certificate. Anybody got ISO 27001 in the room? Got that right? Great, awesome. You'll love one of the case studies we're going to talk about. That's going to be good. So, we're going to talk about some case studies. Essentially, we're going to walk through some things that I've seen doing supply chain audits on other people, and just talk about how that actually happened, what the consequences of some of those audits potentially were. And again, any questions if you've got anything to chip in, do so along the way. It's quite an informal session generally. Cool, perfect. I'm going to say it's this before, so which is fine. Right, here we go. Right, so where are we going? Okay. All right, ISO. Anybody got C plus as an organisation? Yeah. Anybody got PCI?
We've got to have all three, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And they're also talking about getting SOC 2 as well, just for, extra depression.
That sounds like paperwork to fill out whether there's any actual tangible security value.
It's literally because we're an organisation that operates across the globe, so ISO, EMEA.
Nobody recognises it. Yeah.
ISO, everyone in EMEA wants it. No one else cares. And then in America, it's SOC 2 or go to hell.
Yeah, which is bizarre. But that's, it is the nature of the beast. So, contract terms and business level agreements. Who's got contract terms that say you must do certain things with their supply chain as a supplier? There we go, here we go. You've got suppliers where you've enforced this stuff contractually, they need to do certain things from a security point of view.
I've sent scary emails, but have they been answered?
Have they signed in blood that they're going to conform to doing one thing? We looked at big ones for a customer that wanted to transfer all cyber risk to us as part of this particular challenge. If there was an incident, we'd be on the hook for it in terms of fixing it and paying out any fines. So we went, yeah, we're not bidding. We're not doing that. That's insane. Are you mad? And then it's just go, oh yeah, but no, can't possibly accept that. That's your business risk, not my business risk.
Yeah, potential supplier asks us to be on a physically separate data centre for a business which would be £100,000 per annum.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Seriously.
And you're like,
That's actually bonkers.
We didn't bid.
Yeah, no, it's just insane. So some of the commercial aspects of that, when you try and weigh up risk versus cost, you go, actually, there comes a point where something we have to accept some risk on the basis of actually it would just be cost prohibitive to do something different. At that point, I'd be going, have you heard of Azure or AWS? Or, what actually they're trying to do with their money there? External regulation. So, have anybody got any kind of these things? Anybody taking any notes of GDPR?
Sadly.
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of stuff in there. There's little stuff, very, very little kind of really prescriptive stuff in GDPR about what you should and shouldn't do. It just references state of the art or latest and greatest stuff. And then if you ever read into the ISO enforcement action, it then talks about ISO or Cyber Essentials. Is it the Electoral Commission wouldn't have Cyber Essentials due to running Windows XP or something? Stuff like that. So they kind of reference out whatever the latest and greatest kind of security standard is, which is interesting. Supplier management, that sounds exciting, doesn't it? It's reasonably interesting because there's a few people in the room, just two, which is good. But yeah, supplier management can be an interesting thing. So, I'm just going to talk about some case studies and then ask some questions. All right, put some bullet points on board here. So this is interesting. So, did an audit, let's say 7 years ago, for a print supplier to people I was doing the audit for. And actually one of their customers was a bank. So they would send this company things to print, like credit card statements, for example. And they'd never done any audit stuff at this particular juncture, so they went through a program of auditing all of their downward stream suppliers. And I went to this place down in the southeast. And an internal IT department in this organisation, they also outsourced quite a lot of work to an external kind of MSP, if you like, as well, to help them with things that they didn't have skills for internally. As is not unusual in a print organisation, they tend to be quite production heavy, quite light on overhead, right? Now, they had ISO 27001 in place, like a proper UCAS cert as well. Anybody come and looked in that? We've got people with proper UCAS certs versus ones you could buy for 1,200 quid and the next day.
Why are you looking at me like that?
No. I'm aware of some organisations that may or may not have done that. Anyways, we've gone through this audit. We had a particular framework we were working through, which is driven by this financial services organisation. Got some technical details. Asked questions like, do you log in as an admin for your day-to-day duties? No, they didn't. They had separate admin accounts. Okay, great, no problems. And reasonably, on their desktops and all that sort of stuff. You think, actually, that's not too bad. They're doing reasonable things. It's quite a small business, relatively speaking, in terms of people. And where they did the work for this particular financial services organisation, they had a separate room. So a room probably about 4 times the size of this, separate swipe card access to get in. If you were on that contract, you could get in the room. If you weren't, you couldn't. They had their own printing machines and their own inserting machines and all this stuff. You go, well, looks like they're doing a reasonable job here. Great, and there's a couple of things about the audit as we progress through. We're like, so you spent all that money on door locks. You've got a separate network in there. No, it's one flat network across the entire business. Right. It's not really separate, is it? No, so if you were on the general shop floor, you could see the jobs progressing and the machines in this room. They were just physically in a different room. So you're going, okay, depending on who's looking around, that might look really secure and impressive. It's also a lot nicer and decorated than this building. But in reality, it's not really more secure if you just left them in the general building, which already had swipe card access to CCTV. It wasn't really any more secure just because it was in a different room. The classic, what way in the data centre approach. Why? It's probably less secure because you haven't got the money to spend on proper security with 300 million. Anyway, we got towards, did a bit more work on the networking part of this audit. But then, great, so talk about firewalls. What's that firewall? No business, right? Yeah. Not in this instance, say the guy took to the computer room, but there it is. I'm looking at this Cisco router. This is a router. Is it running the firewall software? I have to assemble what was called on the Cisco routers. Oh, I don't know. So this network engineer, the IT manager, said, okay, well, who looks after that? The IT company looks after that. Great. Off we go down the road to see the IT company. We've got this router. Is that running the firewall software? Well, it's got, NAT on it. No. Is it state for inspection firewall? Can I filter based on rules? No, it's just a router. So there's this printing company which is being sent tens of thousands of credit card and bank statements from a financial services organisation every day with no network protection whatever. But they've got ISO 27001 and a proper cert as well. So So they've gone through an audit process repeatedly over a period of 10 years. With ISO 20001, got through the audit. I haven't had a proper file on that sort of time.
Who the hell were their auditor?
Interesting. So it turns out actually the auditors they had are transferred in from other disciplines. So they weren't originally from an IT or a network security background or anything else like that. So they get shown boxes and says it's a firewall, they go, yeah. They don't have enough knowledge to be able to tell the difference. You can't shoot the auditor too much. Equally, from an ISO 27001 point of view, anybody feel free to point out in the requirements where it says you must have a firewall. It's not in there. It's on their risk register. So let's look at that. Plain as day, firewall, or let's go down the firewall, accepted. That looks expensive from a cost point of view. Oh, so your £1 million printing press looks expensive by comparison to a £10 firewall? Yes. Because the people signing the checks don't know what it is or what it does or where you might need one. So, what happened here is then I had to go back to my client, telephone going, bit of a challenge, bit of a red flag on this particular thing because of these reasons. Great, what do you think I should do? I went, well, it's not my business, not my risk. If it was me, probably wouldn't send them any more data until we fix this because that's really, really shit. Bad. I didn't say that was bad. It's a really bad situation. So they didn't have to stop sending them risk stuff. They had to divert their print some rather period of time. Anyway, 6 weeks later, as they were kind of working this stuff out, they agreed to fix it and agreed they knew it was a problem. They were just trying to spend the money. They sent me a screenshot of their new firewall having been implemented with a bunch of traffic flowing through it. That wasn't the interesting part. The interesting part was that 92% of their traffic was Netflix. So the staff were all sat there during the day watching TV because they could, because it wasn't restricted. I'm going, okay, probably make a bit more money now if you could make your team maybe a bit more efficient, because the ones watching TV could probably do that at home, they don't pay them. They've got some money to spend on security. It was a really interesting thing to look at in terms of actually how you can get to a space, which looks really quite good on the outside. When you go digging in, actually there's lots of holes in that, and they weren't actually really complicated technical holes, and we're not talking about pen testing code or anything here, we're talking about some really basic stuff. So number one thing in Cyber Essentials is have a firewall. It's the first thing on the list. So they wouldn't pass Cyber Essentials on the basis they didn't have a firewall. So it sounds shocking, but this is a real case of Jesus. How do you do that? Number one thing we see when we go and audit somebody against Cyber Essentials who've already got cert is they don't have private firewalls. They've been given a route on MSP or the ISP, and they just use that as one of the networks. You can run DHCP off of the router easy enough. So a lot of small organisations don't have firewalls either, so really kind of bad state of affairs. Well, actually, who knows if someone's working from home? You can have suppliers without an office. Nobody with any physical location can leave them to run a business, and they just need an address and it looks official. University, for example, or a co-working space, something like that. Cool. Anybody seen anything like this in your travels?
Yeah, I owned the company early May 2018.
Yeah.
And the second responsible for that and lessons risk. They didn't quite know what we can do about GDPR. We're still discussing it with them. They wanted to send them data from the bank statements and stuff like that.
Most people go, yeah, we comply with the written statement and the policy, and then move on with their lives, what most people do, but, yeah, they comply.
It's incredible.
Yeah, should we accept health and safety law? Might be another question at that point. Yeah, it's slightly mad, but so yeah, it's kind of interesting. Make sure I ask some interesting questions. Sorry? Yeah, surprise.
Probably thought it was some other issues.
Yeah, without looking. I used to work at a printing company. So.
We've actually got one of sort of something there. That's the site that they gave. They actually used premises for hotels.
Yeah.
It's
So I don't even know where my work is.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome. Cool. Right. Next one then. What's this one about? Medical records. Yeah. So this was more of a knowledge thing rather than anything else at particular organisations. Part of the same kind of audit stream led to this organisation in the Midlands, so I forget exactly where it was. And they dealt with medical records for people. So they would do things like medical tests, automatic blood pressure, do cholesterol, whatever it might be, to keep your records. And they're a small business, 30 people, one office. Actually, everything's pretty reasonable shape in the grand scheme of things. They don't have any sort of anything else like that, but they have what you might call enough basic stuff in place to pass the Cyber Essentials, checkbox exercise and stuff like that. All good. What they were doing there, however, was storing all of their data in a free version of Dropbox. And who's read the T's and C's in Dropbox, free version. So at the time when I did this, when I flicked through that, we won't dwell too much on this one. It's just an example of larger suppliers and build a Dropbox. They actually read all the data you stick in there, so they serve you ads. So they target ads based on the data they find. So they were reading everyone's medical information that they uploaded into Dropbox and to target ads to the one account that they were showing as a business. They actually started moving the data around whilst it was there. I went, do you realise? Actually, in Dropbox, if you want to, there's all the loads of Word docs, Excel, stuff like that. It's reports, nothing too complicated. So be careful where you put data, I guess, from supply chain point of view. What suppliers do with the data, you send them all custom data. So a bit of a niche case. We're going to speak to somebody today who was dealing with medical records. So there's lots of organisations out there that do that. But yeah, certainly something to watch out for in terms of actually tracing where your data goes if you have it to somebody else. That's the key things. That'll hurt you as a business. Absolve yourself from responsibility from a GDPR point of view. Righty. What's this? Oh, physical security. Right, so back in the day, we maybe did some work where we might try and gain access to premises, right? So this particular incident, I was doing some work for a motor dealership group. So if you're going to go to a car dealership, like a traditional car dealership, typically there's a bunch of stuff going on, cars in the showroom, staff kicking about, reception desk, that sort of stuff. Right at the back, there's typically a door that says staff only. Something like that's what I mentioned. So I walked into this car dealership carrying a PC with a rucksack on my back, had a suit on. I'm kind of marching through, not been there before, saw this door at the back, going, right, well, I know I need to go upstairs. I could see some stairs through the door, wandered up to this staff-only door, opened the door, through the door, upstairs, walked in. Turns out I walked past the finance department, said good morning to them, so I trooped past. Walked past the CEO's office, which is also on the same floor, trooped past them, all the way down to the end of this corridor. Big sign on that says computer room. I've got this PC that I needed to get into the computer room with. Door's locked. No brake shakes, keys in the door, unlock that. Not kidding, unlock that, go in this room, shut the door, lock it from the inside. I'm in there an hour before I come out. Anyway, so I come back out of this thing. I kind of sidled up past, I can see the CEO's office, the FD's in there as well, busy chatting about, I'm doing this through the window, and sort of looked at me going, who are you? And it keeps going. Get back to where the main finance area was, and I just stopped to the side of like a barrier on the side of the desk, and I just stopped there chatting away. Oh, how are you doing today? Kind of chewing over, weather's pretty nice, and then it was June or whatever time of year it was. They went, yeah. And I said, I said, just a quick question. I said, yeah. I said, you didn't ask who I was or what I was doing here. And they turned around and went, yeah, you look confident, so we just let you carry on. So I managed to get into the computer room in this, it was a 30-site motor dealership group without anybody asking me any questions. And they had big, some of the stuff, they go, well, don't put a sign on the computer room. Don't leave the key in the door. Why was the key in the door? Oh, we kept losing it, so we just left it in the lock because it was easy to find. Some really, really basic stuff. No swipe card access or anything else like that. What's the value in that? We don't have people going in and out here very often, clearly. I was supposed to be there, but equally if I was not supposed to be there, that still would have been fine because nobody would have asked any questions. Really, really bizarre. So actually, the whole kind of notion of physical security, I want my own separate data centre. No, stick it with everybody else's because you're going to spend a lot more time looking after a big pot of things than you are lots of little stuff kicking around everywhere. But quite interesting. Anybody recognise this film as well? Catch Me If You Can, yeah. One of my favourite films. I stick this on a lot of stuff, but actually this is the scene where he's pretending to be a doctor. He's not really a doctor, but only works because he looks like he's dressed like a doctor. He sounds nice and confident. It's all good. No idea what he's doing at all whatsoever. He just gets everybody else to run around for him, but it works. Classic bit of social engineering, but that's essentially what physical security is. You get people tailgating or whatever it is. A bit more difficult these days trying to get into a proper office, but actually places like universities are a nightmare to secure because they're open access. You don't have to pay for parking here at the weekend, so you can be fairly anonymous wandering in here, just got to come and get a coffee. How long could you poke around in this building before security wandered up to you and asked you any questions about what you're doing here? Then we wandered around in the building that's not just immediately here and see how far you can get. It's a really interesting thing to do in terms of just go, actually this room's open, some network ports here on the floor, where do they connect? I haven't done that, by the way, but you could, and nobody would notice on a day like today. So there's lots of events and stuff like that doing here, so the better contained you can keep your office environment, the more difficult it's going to be for somebody to get in there. So interesting piece in that bit. What's this one about? Oh, right. This is a recent one. So Anybody do any sort of open source intelligence on your organisation? So you use Fractal Scan. Yeah. So we use Fractal Scan. So we've taken a habit of going, any new customers we might deal with, we take a habit of just running this tool. So it gives us a bunch of output back where their email is. Actually, are they interested in? It gives you kind of a bit of a notional idea. Put this up here. Right, so this is one of the things we found. Everybody recognise this login page, yeah? Right, okay, so if you look at this, we've got no critical things found. Got 9 highs though. Highs might be things like you're missing some patch updates or you're running an out-of-date version of a patch or whatever it might be. Those sorts of stuff. We haven't poken through. One of the highs was actually this. So this is the admin interface for Sonable. Generally, these things should not be accessible from the internet. This is accessible from the internet. It was 2 weeks ago when I last checked it. Doesn't appear to be anything protecting it when we go logging into this organisation's perimeter firewall. Interesting. How I got here was actually we're looking at whether MX records pointed, ended up here. Great. That all seems quite innocuous, really. You go, okay, well, that's probably poor practice. Yeah, if you find a lot of people with Dratex and stuff like that in their businesses, they're generally open so people can get to them easy for admin purposes and that sort of stuff. A couple of things that are really shocking about this that we found. Thing number 1, this is actually a competitor we took some business off 3 months ago, so this is actually an MSP in the UK. They offer security services and pen testing to people. Read to that what you will. The reason I came across this is didn't find anything particularly wrong at the firewall level, didn't kind of highlight any issues. The main thing it flagged here is this is accessible over HTTP.
Oh.
There's no encryption on this. Not only is it accessible to the world, it's also not encrypted as an interface. And I go, how can you not have your firewall interface at least encrypted if you are going to, and even better, just don't have it open. Why is that open? That shouldn't be open. I don't want to be seeing this. But yeah, it was actually a competitor. And so I've removed any kind of information here about who that might be. There's nobody local. Let me put it like that. But yeah, really interesting thing to find. And they actually host a lot of the services they offer their customers behind this device on their premises. So they're still doing on-prem stuff for their customers as well. So we were kind of like blown away by this, going, really? Really? But actually, if they're your supplier, I'd be mortified by this. That's a massive risk. But that's sort of the thing to kind of look out for there. I don't think they have anything else like that. Or they've got no real day-to-day responsibility or person looking after that for them in their organisation. Because you do all over this like a rash. You kind of jumping down people's throats to get this sorted out. It's pretty bad. And we see this a lot in customers when people go and talk to for the first time, find stuff like this quite often. And it's always the basic stuff that tends to get exploited. Anybody use AWS? EC2 instances? Yeah. We've come across a few people we've had to help where they've had their EC2 instances breached because they've never reset the default admin passwords that AWS create. Or they left RDP open, which is how you get into the things first of all. So there's a few little things that you can tweak in even some very good, a great environment that you can do to kind of show up security that actually a lot of organisations miss. It's always those simple things we come find that have been the result of the most horrendous kind of breaches are always things like RDP, SMB shares, out-of-date software, firewall interfaces being open. So you could log into this, create any VPNs you like, just get access to everything underneath. Pound to a penny that if you can figure out what this password is, it probably works in other platforms as well, I would suggest. That's just a hunch, but you know.
Did you try the default credentials?
No.
Should have. You should have.
No.
Didn't need
to. No need to do that. We were kind of just interested, going, okay, what sort of interface? And actually we had a pretty poor experience with that other supplier in terms of doing the transition. They weren't particularly forthcoming at all. It's a good indicator usually about people who behave and you kind of interact with them and kind of where they are in terms of what they view as important versus what they view is don't need to worry about that. I once had a conversation with somebody who said, well, you've got these open SMB shares on the internet. Yeah, so people can access the file shares from home. And I was like, yeah, well, that's SMB version 1. Yeah, it's got username and password. No. That's actually insecure. That's really readily breached. Whatever it is, anybody? The IT administrator was adamant it was absolutely the best thing in the world ever because it made remote access nice and easy. I'm going, heard of a VPN? Yeah, the users didn't like that. It was complicated.
So you click a button.
Yeah, or nothing. It does. The computer doesn't have to do it. Yeah. It's really easy to do. But yeah, some of the reasons we've heard from people not putting just really basic security measures in, basic stuff these days, just amazing, really, in terms of actually, there's a lot of this stuff out there. It really is. But we find it in supply chains. Other people's suppliers. That's the kind of the essence of this, is actually go check. Go do some sort of verification. I kind of presents me with an ISO cert these days. I go, great, let's go and have a look. Once you've got an ISO cert, I don't necessarily trust that you've actually done all this stuff, or that you're doing it continuously, or that it's even relevant. So people that have got, we've got a bunch of development procedures. Well, that's nice. I'm buying a product from you, I'm consuming a web service. I'm not interested in your development because we're not doing that. What's relevant to your organisations on a day-to-day basis? What do you do with your suppliers? How much access do they have to your environment directly from a supply chain point of view? Was it Target? A big PCI breach from many, many years back?
It was a short control system, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was the same admin creds as were on their card readers for taking payments. I think it was the FBI that told them they'd been breached. Something like that. And they got breached because the people that looked after their HVAC got breached. They had access to the network, so they were able to get on the network. No network segregation. and away we go. So some really basic stuff in there, but yeah, just definitely watch that. Anyway, just want to share some of the stuff that we found. And that's some of the stuff, which is good. That's it. Anybody got any questions? We might even have some time left after that. No questions. Pretty early.
What's the biggest risk in terms of, would you say, a lack of assurance or a lack of, trying to find the right word, sorry.
No, you won't.
Lack of assurance, lack of evidence, or lack of actual culture, what would you say is the biggest risk in terms of...
If you're talking about
getting evidence of, like, a supplier having good security.
Yeah.
Because an ISO cert is fantastic. But
evidence of good security, but...
I mean, no, it's not. Evidence of good security is a tiny list of exceptions.
Yeah. So if we look at some of the latest stuff that's coming from the NCSC, they're talking very much more about security behaviours. They're looking to see a certain set of behaviours from the organisations that they get involved with, rather than I've got this or this set of technical controls. They want to know, are you thinking security first? Are you embedding that from the start of any project?
The culture of it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Is everybody thinking in those sorts of terms? Or is it a tick box exercise for you? But if it's a tick box exercise, it's not going to work. It's just, forget that. You need to think about that, in terms of actually people wake up, go to work and go, no, I really shouldn't be clicking on that email or scanning that QR code. So we see that it's one of the vendors out there's got QR code, you scan it to enter a competition to win the Lego car. That's quite enticing. Who doesn't like Lego? But no one's scanning it on the basis that most people from a security background are going, I'm not scanning that barcode. What's on the end of that? I've got no idea. So no one's gone anywhere near it. So you kind of look at that stuff and go, actually, people are just a bit more distrustful. There's Dorset's, the car park scam with Ringo.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody going all the car parks at the beach, tourist season, bang. I mean, somebody thought about that. Nice and clever. Lots of people not coming in. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference necessarily. Just go measure the QR code one night. I want a sticker in white that side. There you go. Sign up for Ringo here. Might get a tenner a car. How many people are in that car park in a day? 1,000?
Did they do track and trace as well?
Not quite sure. I didn't read the article. I've got to be honest, I just saw snippets of it whilst I was away. But yeah, it's some really interesting things like that. So you look back to actually how somebody's going to extract some money out of this situation fundamentally, unless anybody in defence or put loads of IP in their organisation. Yeah. See you again. So look at that.
When we have a discussion, you'll understand some of the organisation.
Understood. So if you look at most cyber attacks start with people trying to extract cash out of you in some description and go with that premise, where's the opportunity for them to do that? Just focus on minimising that rather than spending loads of money on lots and lots of fancy security tools that actually probably aren't going to make any much a tangible difference. You need to spend your money on things that make a tangible security difference. Diversify security culture is number one. You need to start from the top. So who's in charge in their organisations? That's the challenging part. I was chatting to somebody earlier going, Nobody wants to spring for a pen test and go, you really need a pen test? How many people in your business? 300. You can afford a pen test, that's fine. Just on the basis of scale. 10 people, I can understand why you might avoid trying to spend that level of money on pen testing your app built in AWS, but 300 people is not really a reason not to, other than somebody at the top doesn't see the value in it. So that culture needs to start right at the top.
Yeah, one of the things I used to find when we used to do supply chains a few years ago is you find some suppliers who would come back and wouldn't score very well, used to score back on the categorize it to put adequate and poor and get the contract.
Yeah.
Sometimes they did. Some suppliers would come back and ask you for advice, and you couldn't really provide them advice because you then kind of cross the line.
Yeah.
And they're beginning to take responsibility for the supply security. Obviously, a good idea. What would be your advice as to what to do in that situation?
Oh, that's challenging. So, interesting. So, the last person I spoke to about that in FCA space actually did start offering people a few hints and tips. So, the report that we've generally turned out in some of these instances very much says, right, here's the area we're talking about, let's call it firewall security, here's what we found when we were there, here's what good looks like. So, nothing specific. Best practice includes probably a firewall with these kinds of capabilities. And then I recommend you go and do a thing at the bottom here. So we did actually stick in there, your action should be go and do that. We weren't specific about things like vendors or capacities and things like that. We're very general in terms of, well, it says have a firewall in Cyber Essentials. It doesn't care if it's software, bit-in, did you buy it from Cisco or Palo Alto or Sonic Wall? It's not interested, doesn't care. Do you have a device that can meet these kind of requirements? That might be the sort of thing to do is go, you might want to go look at whether you actually need PCI DSS. I quite like it from here's a good list of technical things you can do to help secure an environment, no matter what data's in there. You might want to go read that and do some of those things, but they need to be kind of contextualised for your business. I tend to point people towards that sort of general advice rather than being really specific about buying things and it becomes a bit of sales.
Is that like just in case of liability?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. So, well, you told me to do this and it hasn't worked, or I've wasted loads of money on it. It can be a bit of an issue. Unless someone specifically go and what should we do, buy that. Yeah. Just buy that, you're kind of good in that way. But yeah, we tend to be very generic in those kind of feedback reports. Oh, that's quite generic. Yeah, because you're not our customer. If you're a customer, I can be much less generic. But yeah, you might want to go talk to XYZ or somebody that you know might be able to help in that situation if you've got a partner organisation that you're pointing towards. Even if it's one of your other suppliers that helps with those things in your business, go talk to them. They can help. Might be the piece. Cool. Cool. So, no, thank you everybody for coming.